Now let me go ahead and start explaining about a project creation. The reason why I'm explaining about project creation is that is where everything starts, right? We can define enterprise level details. We can configure library data. As administrators, they can set up everything. But why are we doing all of it? So that when the functional users start creating projects, everything falls in place and the business process is taken care of. That's what we are going to do in next, so that you are aware of when a project gets created, what are the things that need to be done so that the users are able to view the project, the different functionalities within the project can be handled better. First step is to create the project using the new option in the project list page. It's a simple line that you're seeing, but there is a lot that you do when you're creating a project. There are various fields that you would enter, out of which a lot of fields are mandatory. A lot of fields have impact across the project. Once you have done all of it, you save the record. You also go ahead and invite additional users. When you create your record, by default, you will have permission to manage all the records within it based on the roles assigned to you. But Lionel wants to have trainer one or trainer two have some access to my project. They cannot directly access it because they're not invited to the project. So, as a project manager, I would invite the users to my project so that they can perform workflow actions when I send certain records to them to make business decisions on. So, these are two important stages that every user needs to take care of for a project to be efficiently managed within Essentials. Okay. So, what does this mean? We navigate to the project module, we create a new project, and I will be explaining the parameters in the new project page. And we will also see the view a project details page once it is created. And how do we invite a user to the project is something we will see. I'm going to do now. For that, I go back to the application. I go to the projects module. Projects module is the second module in the module list. When I click projects module, I land on the projects list page, which lists an existing list of projects that are created by users in the past. I would have also created some records myself. Now, if I want to create a new record, if I have the permission to create a new record, I will see the new button here in the list page. I click new. I land on the project's details page. For better visibility, I'm going to collapse the navigation tree. I have all the work area to play with. I'll start with project name. Project name is mandatory. So I'm going to say this is a road extension project for sector 2. That is my project name, right? Project code can be RE101. That would be my project code. There is no naming convention for it unless the organization decides to do so. I'm just providing some details so that it is a mandatory field that I'm entering. Owner can be anybody who's the owner of the project. Project type. These are all coming from the library. When we started the training, I did tell you that there are pre-configured parameters that we can define in library so that anytime a user wants to select, they have this predefined data to pick from so that there is no inconsistent way of writing this information. Let's say I'm giving this as a free text field, economic environment. Somebody will say ECO.ENVRT. Somebody will say economic environment fully. So there is an inconsistency. When I want to generate a report or I want to search for the projects that have project type, I won't be able to search because everybody has entered differently. For that, we have the predefined catalog of information defined in library that is coming here. As administrators, if you decide this is not the set of types I want to see completely new set of types, administrators have the ability to do so in the library and that will start appearing here. In this case, this is the road extension project. So I'm just going to put it as public safety. Okay. Status, again, this is a good to know value. There are different values coming again from library. You can choose to select it. It is not a mandatory field. You can choose to ignore this as well. But in addition to all the fields, if you want to add more attributes that make more better sense for the project, you, you can do that like here. In this, it's a construction status. So I'm just putting it here because the project is already in construction. I'm just putting this here. The start date is picking my current date. I can go ahead and change it, but I'm just leaving it as today's date. The date created is given here. This is non-editable as you see. End date is the anticipated end date of this project. I am anticipating this project to be ending on May 31, 2023. Okay. So what it is doing is from this date to this date, it has actually calculated, the system has calculated the calendar days and it is putting 391. It's the exact number of days between the start date and end date, right? If I put 5/5, it will give me 365, exactly 1 year. But nobody's going to work for 365 days every day, right? You would need to set some kind of a calendar for your project, for your organization, so that it is indicated that Saturday, Sunday are non-working days, Christmas, Easter are non-working days. You would be defining that in calendar in library, and you're just going to pick it up. Let's say for capital projects. The moment I picked it up, based on how I defined it in the library, it is saying that out of 365 days, this calendar has marked certain days as non-working days, based on which only 255 days are working days between this day and this day. That is what is getting calculated here. If I say any other option, accordingly, the working days will change. I'm just going to leave it as is. I did tell you that every project can have its own folder structures. So if I don't select anything, right, there will be still a folder called documents under which you can upload your documents. But if you want to have a predefined set of folders to find in your library, and you want to use that for different types of projects, you can create folders like design, development, review. Like that, you can create different folders. And under each folder, you can upload appropriate documents, which makes sense. So you can define the folder structures and select the folder structure for your project. This is a road extension. I'm picking a folder structure called road projects, right? And for each folder, you can have properties defined. When I say properties, that's just the metadata. That means when a document is uploaded, as much information as you add for that document to get uploaded, it is easier for you to search, right? Otherwise, you have 100 documents uploaded. All documents have only name and status. It will be difficult for you to search. If you add additional metadata, saying instead of, you can add something called document type, you can add something called document status, you can add something called whether it is approved or in draft. All of that you can provide as additional data to get captured before the document can get successfully uploaded in your system. When that happens, when the document needs to be searched, it has that many more filter criteria to narrow down your search and get the best optimum result. So that is the concept of document properties. I'm just selecting something called as document properties here. Description of the project, if you want, you can provide that. Business unit. This is what I told you about. In this case, I am selecting a business unit called public services. So that means any user who is part of public services will be able to get invited to this project. As you see, for a project, you can only select one business unit. If I select anything else, it will get overridden. Whereas for a user, you can assign any number of business units. So that's the difference. So these are some of the important fields that you need to be aware of when you create a project. Beyond this, there are additional information for you. You can choose to add them, like strategic goals that you want to define for your project. When you click add, you can define your strategic goals in the library that you can pick. In this case, it is improve mobility. If we are extending the road, it's improving mobility. So that's the goal I want to set for this project. And if I go strategic objectives, again, this is coming from library. These are the different objectives that you want to define for your project. You can select an appropriate objective and put it for your project. Beyond that, if you want to set up some priority for your project, you can do that. And these are the individuals in the system who are assigned the project manager role. So Lionel was assigned the project manager role. That's why it is applied here. So in addition to the owner of the project, if you want to capture the project manager of the project, you can do so as well. So these are some of the fields that you can enter when you're setting up a project. And attributes is it's just that, I mean, it is not even enabled for you. I'm not going to explain this. This is a legacy feature. Modules is something which is important. So when you're creating a project, these are the different modules that are enabled for your project. At the web level, we also have something called as mobile. So when Essentials Mobile is used, would you want any of these forms to be available for the mobile as well? If you have your desktop version, you can use it to capture data. But let's say a site engineer wants to use the application, Essentials application, and you want to use that to capture data. Let's say there are issues that need to be tracked. Let's say there are some items that need to be updated and posted in the system. So they have a mobile version of the application they can use to capture all of it in an offline mode. The moment they come back and connect it to the network, the data that they have captured using the mobile version of the application will get uploaded to the web server. And if any web server data is there, the moment the mobile device is connected to the network, that can get synced to the mobile device as well. But you need to determine which forms that you need to enable in the mobile device for this particular project. That is what you do here in the modules. At the bottom, you have the attachments grid. Like I mentioned, you can upload any documents that you want to related to this project that can get uploaded here. So that will be the attachment. Let's say in this project, there are some approvals that you have created and you want to attach it to this record when you are creating it in Essentials. You can attach those documents. Or you want to link documents from any of the folder structure that you have existing, that you can do so as well. I'm not going to spend time doing that. But at this point, all I wanted you to know is you have created the project, you have entered all the details. Now I am saving this record. When I save this record, what you would notice is in the left navigation tree, you would see a folder getting created with the project name, right? Like I said, this is the name of the project with the project code in the beginning. This is the folder of the navigation tree of the project. So I had associated a folder structure. This is the folder structure for the road project. So under each folder, you can create and upload your own documents. Okay. So that's the document folder structure that I want to highlight. And inside your project, you have all the functionalities that I will get to towards the end of the session. But this is how you set up your project. The next thing that I want to talk about is inviting users. So as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, there are two ways in which you can invite users to your project. You can either you invite multiple users to a single project, or you can invite a single user to multiple projects. There are two ways in which you can invite users. How would you do that? You see an option called Manage Users. This option is available in the list page. So that means when you click Manage Users, you can pick a single user and invite that user to multiple projects. So in this case, I'm searching for a single user. I've searched that user. At this point, this user is not invited to any project. That is why under existing projects, there is no project listed. So now I want to invite this user to few projects that are available in the application. In the Add Projects grid, I click Add. When I click Add, all the projects whose business unit is the same as one of the business units that are associated to this user will be listed here. So in this case, let's say I want to search for the Cavan Street extension or this particular project itself. So the project that I had created is road. I just and type. So this is code, right? In code, it will not be there. In the name, it will be there. So road, all the projects that are related that have the term road in the name will be listed here. The project we created is a road extension project for sector 2. This is the project. The whose business unit is the same as one of the business units in which user Lionel is invited to. So I select this project and I click select. I can pick multiple projects as well. So when I click add, you have the checkboxes here. So let's say I want to select projects, these two projects as well, these three projects as well. When I select that, all of those projects are listed here. Once I have added these projects, I have the ability to decide whether I want to invite this user to these projects in project manager role or any other roles in which this user is invited to. At this point, when I click here, when I double click here, this user itself has only project manager role assigned when the administrator created them. If this user had multiple user IDs, multiple roles assigned, all of those roles will be listed here. Okay. out of which you can pick which role you want to invite this user into this project, and accordingly you can select. So at this point, this user is currently invited to these projects, and I want to invite this user to the contracts within the project as well in the same role. So when I expanded this, I see the contracts within the projects. So I select the checkbox. The moment I selected it, the user is invited to the contract in the same role. Likewise, I expand these projects to see if there are any contracts within them. I do not see anything. At this point, I'm good with this. I go ahead and save this record. So when I save this record, this user is invited to this project. So when I search for this user again, all the projects that I had invited this user to, they will start appearing here. And pick it, the page will load. And now you see these the roles, projects that I have already invited are now in the existing project section. So this way, you can invite one user to multiple projects. There is another place in which you can invite users to projects. So let's say I have created this project. I am inside the project. I have opened the project, double clicked it in the list page. It is opened and I'm landed on the details page. So we have two places. One is project dashboard and project details. I will talk about dashboards and reports in a bit, but by default, it is landed on the dashboard. Now I go to the details page. In the details page, all the details of the project are listed here. And I see an option called manage users. So from here, the only difference is for this particular project, how many users I want to invite to. Earlier, for that user, how many projects I want to invite to. Now, for this project, how many users I want to invite. So I created this project. Now I want to invite more users to this project. If I click manage users, already Lionel will be listed there. Trainer one is the user that I was in, and I have been invited to this project automatically because I was the one who created this project. On top of it, I had already invited Lionel. If I want to add more users, I click add user here. When I click add user, all the users whose business unit is matching to this project are listed here. If I want to search for trainer 2, I will see that name. In fact, I can add more names as well. Trainer, because with the trainer name, there is only one. Let's say I just type A and contains all of these names with A in it are listed here. I select David Fox, David Hussey, and David Roach and click add users. So all of these users are invited now. And I double click here. This user has only one role. This user has only one role. So they are all listed here as they are. Trainer one, again, is an administrator. They are all listed here. When I save this record, because automatically this is saved. So right now what has happened is I have invited multiple users to my project with the different roles in which they are invited to. And if I extend this, if there are any contracts in which you are, this project doesn't have any contract yet because we just created the project. So when I expand it, there is no contract available. If I have already created the project and contracts within it, that will be available for me to invite this user to that contract as well. So this is how I can invite users to projects in two ways. One user to multiple projects, one project to multiple users. We went to the project module, we created a new project, we explored the different parameters in a project, we talked about the details page, and we also invited users to the project in both ways.